This is so funny. Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome to the Friend Leigh Show. I am your host and friend, Leigh. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. Okay, so if you guys are watching this in the live version, then you get to see the background. If you're watching this or listening to this in the audio version, like a regular podcast, that's okay, but you're missing out on some fun. So, Mike told me, he's like, why don't you use a background? Why did you just use the green screen? And I was like, because I don't know how to do it. So I was playing around with it and I thought this would be a pretty cool background to use. So does anybody know where this is from? I'm sure there's a lot of you that do. Anyway, let me know in the comments. So if this is your first time, let me just make sure I'm in the right place. Yes. Okay. So if this is your first time with the Friend Leigh Show, welcome. I'm super happy that you're here. I'd love to know how you found us. You can always email the show. And by the show, I mean me at thefriendleighshow@gmail.com. Leigh is spelled Leigh. That's my first name. So a little play on words there. So our podcast is not like your typical podcast. So what we do is we record live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Central, or whatever the equivalent is for you guys. And we record live on YouTube and on Twitch. And my favorite part of the show is when you guys are interacting with us. So when you're interacting, when you're in the comments and you put up a comment, I immediately will put it up on the screen and now you become part of the show. So it's really fun. It's really interactive. And the way that I like to explain it is that you have come over to my house. We're sitting in my living room. We're talking about something. And then the conversation, if you've ever been in a conversation with me, you know that it will end up kind of squirreling from here to there. We'll talk about a little bit of different things. We'll be off topic, but then we usually make our way back. So yay, Sarah is here. Hello, Sarah says, love the background. Do you know where it's from? I'm hoping it doesn't just look like a mess, and I'm hoping that it kind of comes across. I was playing with a bunch of them because I wanted that couch to be like almost make it look like I was sitting in it, but I couldn't figure it out. Anyway, that's okay. So that's how this is. So I'm really excited that there are people here. Sarah, I'm really happy that you're here because it really is my favorite part. And last week we had a bonus episode because it was the 5th week in the month, and I'll explain kind of how we kind of come up with the themes and what we're going to be talking about each week. But last week was a bonus episode. So we had kind of like a lightning round of questions to get to know our friends. And it was a lot of fun. A lot of people said that it was one of the best shows. And so what I've decided is that we will leave the end of the show to be a little part of that. So we'll have the regular conversation here. And then the last 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, we'll see how it's going. We're going to do a lightning round with some questions. So that should be really fun too. And let me tell you how we kind of set up the show, because this is kind of new. We've been doing this the last, I think, 2 months, and I'm really enjoying it. So I hope you are too. What we do is we pick a theme for the month. So this is a brand new month. And what we're going to do is this last month was worthiness. And so we pick a theme, an overarching theme that we're going to talk about all month long. And then each week, we talk about one of the pillars of our happy. So if you're over on our Facebook page, then you know that we talk about happy as an acronym, and it consists of 5 different pillars of how we can become happier, show our happiness, feel our happiness. And those are in our health, in our affection for ourselves, because telling ourselves that we love ourselves is one thing, but actually showing us that we love ourselves is quite another. Our purpose, how we live into our purpose every day. And then our partnerships, that's only because there's no R in happy. So we couldn't talk about relationships, but we talk about our partnerships, and that's our warm relationships that we have with our friends and with our family, but then also just with our connections with the outside world. And then the Y is youthfulness. So what we'll do is on week 1, we'll talk about the theme and how it relates to health and affection for ourselves, because both of those are for ourselves, right? And then week 2, we'll talk about the theme and our purpose. Week 3 will be the theme and our partnerships. And then week 4 will be our theme and youthfulness. So this week and this month, we're going to be talking about our stories. So how do the stories that we created back in the day that we're still living into, how do our stories that we're living into right now, maybe that we're creating on the spot, how do all those narratives that we're living by affect each one of these areas or these pillars? And so this week, we're going to talk about how our narratives are affecting our health, and how can we, by showing ourselves affection, change maybe some of those narratives. And I'll tell you why I came up with this theme for this month. 2 reasons. 1, in our book club, we are reading a book, and it's all about how to be seen, and how to see people as they are. And the last chapter that we read, actually the last couple of chapters that we read, were all about the stories that we create, the life stories that we live into. And it was really powerful. The conversation in the book club was really powerful, and it really hit home to me. And today, so I see my coach or my therapist, whatever you want to call her. I just call her amazing. I see her on Wednesdays, and it's usually every other Wednesday. So this week I got to see her, and we had a really good conversation. And as the universe will have it, we ended up talking about our stories. And it was really, really cool for me to kind of have that conversation with her after book club. And it came up not because I brought it up, but because she brought it up with something that I was kind of working on. And so what we were discussing is how, so for me, you guys know, if you're new to the show, and if you're new to my living room, I just kind of share everything. I wear my heart on my sleeve. You're going to get to know me pretty quickly. One of the people in our book club actually was talking about how he's a little bit more reserved in the stories he shares with people, that he doesn't really share personal things, until he really feels comfortable and can trust other people. And I kind of live by the way of, I trust everybody until you prove that I can't trust you. Some people say that that's not good, but it's never really served me wrong. Some people, I found out that I can't trust them, but did it matter? It was still my truth that I was always sharing. So it doesn't really affect me in the way that I think people think sharing their stories will affect them. So I kind of share everything. There's some stories maybe that I am not aware of that I haven't shared yet, because maybe it's just been like a subconscious story. But once I start unraveling all the stories that I've been living by, I share those. And so on the show and on the First Day Pod show, which if you're watching on Twitch on First Day Pod, you are in the right place. So this is the Friend Leigh Show, but the First Day Pod, I do it with my husband, Mike, and we are not regular. We do not do our show every week as we do the Friend Leigh Show. So I just make sure I stream over there. So then you guys are still getting a little bit, you're getting half the show kind of. So on the First Day Pod for we've been in that show on that podcast. I think we've been doing it for 4 years. You guys have been through the journey of me dealing with, I did have a date rape, and that's how I lost my virginity. And that sounds very alarming and I guess I should have given you guys like what is that called? Like a trigger alert or whatever. But I'm at a place now that I'm able to speak about it because I've come out the other end. And now this was something that happened to me over 20 years ago. And it's just in the last couple years of me thinking about the story and working through the story that I was able to come out on the other side of it. And so that's what we were talking about in my coaching session this morning, was about that. And I told her, I said, she was talking about like, we've got to come up with how we're going to, like how I'm going to be looking at that and the stories that I've been telling myself about it. And subconsciously, I've been telling myself, which I didn't realize, that my voice doesn't matter, that what I say doesn't matter. And it has shown up in a lot of different ways in my life that I wasn't even aware of. And it totally makes sense now. And so now I'm able to say that's a lie, right? My voice does matter. What I say does matter. And so now I get to kind of take that lie that I've been telling myself over and over again, and I get to create a new story around it. So I was telling her what's fascinating to me is because of all of the personal development that I've done over the last 20 years, I now create the narrative almost while I'm in the event. I almost like it happens for me almost naturally that I want to think about, okay, how am I going to remember this event? Because I know that, like you and I, Sarah, you and I went to conference this weekend or last weekend and for Color Street, and we both experienced it almost the same way. We sat next to each other almost everywhere we went. When we went out to eat, we danced together, we sat together, we partied together, we did all the things together. So our viewpoint was very similar the whole time. However, the story that we tell about the conference can be very different depending on how we framed it. And so I have kind of naturally throughout the years realized that I want to frame my stories very positively. Not to be like what is that called? There's a word for it. Pollyanna or whatever it is, where it just everything is like sunshine and rainbows. But that's not why I do it. It's because I want to think of my life as a happy life. And so now, am I going to like make every death that happens in my life a rosy thing? No, it's not. But I do want to find the lessons in everything that's happening. And I want to do that kind of quickly. What was interesting to me while I was talking to my coach today was that's something I developed. That was a muscle that I've created in the last 20 years. And probably part of it was like a survival mechanism because of that. And it was the story that I was going to tell. There was so much shame around it. And so that's where it started kind of building. And now it becomes natural to me. But when that happened, I wasn't in that mindset. I wasn't reframing things. I wasn't framing things at all. Things were happening to me and that was it. And it was what it was. And then life and society created the story or the narrative around it. And so the story or the narrative around a date rape was that, a lot of the time they victimize the victim, right? Like, I should have done something different. I should have walked away. I should have left. Me as the victim, I should have done all these things. And so you internalize those stories from other people instead of creating your own story. So when it comes to our health, our mental health, our physical health, our spiritual health, all of it, we need to start taking action and intentional action in how we're going to frame those stories. So one of the exercises that I'm doing with my coach, and it's been like weeks in the process, there are different steps that we're taking, and I've talked to you guys about it before. One of them was the find the lies and uncover the truths, where you write down all of the lies that you tell yourself, all the negative thoughts that you have, and you write them down physically on a piece of paper or on your Remarkable. And so you write them all down and you write it in pencil. And then the next day or in a couple days, you come back and you look at each one of those lies that you've been telling yourself and you come up with the truth about it. So one of the things is, I really love coaching. I do. I love coaching and mentoring. That's one of my passions, that I do it for free. Like, I absolutely love it. But one of the lies that I say is that, there's a lot of people that are better coaches than I am. So who would hire me, right? Now, that's a lie, because there are people that hire me to coach, even though there are the Tony Robbins and the Mel Robbins and the Jack Canfields out there, right? But the truth of that is not I'm the best and I'm the top and everybody should go with me because I know everything, because that's also a lie. That's not the truth. But the truth is that with experience and with time, I keep evolving. I keep getting better. And right now, I am good enough and I do get results for people. That's the truth. So when you're doing this practice of like coming up with your story and coming up with your narratives, it doesn't have to be this elaborate, like, oh my gosh, I can walk on water. It just has to be the actual truth of what you want and what you want to live into. When you wake up in the morning, who do you want to be? Right? Like those are the stories that we need to start creating. So what my homework is for the next 2 weeks is for me to come up with I am statements that are things that I want to live into, things of who I am. So, okay. So Sarah says, this is my favorite part. I'm so happy. Okay. And for those of you that are just like tuning in and like, oh my goodness, why is she so happy? So I just cut off the conversation as if we're having conversation and Sarah just started talking because she was like, oh my gosh, yes. And started talking about what I talked about because that's how conversations happen. And so hopefully I will get back to where I was. And if I don't, it doesn't matter because it wasn't important. So Sarah says, yes, exclamation, 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 although she didn't say exclamation mark. We grow to learn and understand that there is always something to learn with everything that life throws at us. Amen. It is so interesting how we adopt views that are not our own and add to our story. Yeah. Is it like when we start becoming awake of like all the things that we've just let hit our subconscious, it's mind blowing, like mind blowing. The work that we've got to do to like rewire our brain. If people aren't doing the inner work, like I just can't imagine. I can't imagine who I would be if I didn't do any of this work. If I didn't like ask myself, is that the truth that I want to have? So yeah, Sarah, I am totally with you. It is absolutely interesting how we just adopt other people's views and we think that's okay. Like we take that as the truth. Yes. Amen. And I love that she also, I'm going to actually pull it up just one more time. I love that she says that we grow to learn and understand that there is always something to learn with everything that life throws at us. There's always a lesson in it, you guys. Always. Even if you can't figure out what the lesson is right away, even if you're in it and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is just the worst thing that ever happened. There's always a lesson. It's fascinating. It's kind of like gratitude. Even if you think, oh my gosh, there's nothing to be grateful for right now, there is. You just have to look for it. Okay. So the homework, see, I remembered. I'm getting so good at it, you guys. So I've talked about this in the past. I am not a diagnosed ADHD person, but I do, like Mike is telling me, you know, he sees it a lot in me. And I feel like I do have ADHD or some form of it. He does think that I would benefit from medication, but I'm still a little bit, you guys, I don't even use shampoo. I don't use soap. I don't like TMI, but I don't like any kind of chemical if I don't have to have it. I was sick this weekend. My doctor gave me an antibiotic and was like, you know, you can take this. There was a nasal spray that I could take that had steroids in it, which also wasn't great. But she was like, you can take that and the antibiotic, or you can just take the nasal spray, see if it works, and then, you know, take the antibiotic if you need it. Guys, I took the route that I was like, don't put all those chemicals in me. So here's my disclaimer. I do this disclaimer on every show, sometimes at the beginning, sometimes at the end, sometimes when it happens like this, that this is not I am not a medical practitioner of any sort. I'm not a healthcare practitioner. So anything that you hear on the show is simply me giving my ideas, my thoughts, you're just in the living room with your friend. Same thing if you're listening to things that other people are saying in the comments. So please don't take anything here as diagnosis or as treatment. But if you do find something interesting, it is meant for entertainment and education. So if you do find something interesting, please take it to your healthcare professional and say, hey, you know what? I was listening to this podcast. They may roll their eyes, but say, and it just made me think, like, can we explore this? right? And explore it with a professional, please. Okay. So Sarah says they're living a life that's not their own. Yeah. Those people that are just kind of letting life happen and letting life kind of write the story. Absolutely. And there's such magic when we can start writing our own story. And you guys, the magic is that we get to rewrite our story too. We can just change the way that we say things, because there's a lot of, in anything, there's different angles that you can look at any event that happens, and it's usually like when we're going to share like how, like, let's say I went to a wedding. I did not go to a wedding, but let's say I went to a wedding. I would be able to focus. I'm not going to give like a play by play of every second of everything that happened. I am going to pick out my favorite parts, right? Or I might pick out how hot the room was, or I might pick out how dry the chicken was, or I might pick out how fun the dancing was. But you usually, when you're explaining a full event, you're just picking up highlights or lowlights, however you look at life. And because you're not giving a play-by-play, you're not giving a recorded live version of what happened, you're picking the things that you want to put out there. So you get to change what you pick out. So you might say, oh my gosh, yeah, I went to that wedding and oh my gosh, the chicken was so dry. Like we didn't even enjoy our dinner. And then it was so hot and humid in there. It was gross, right? And then the next time you tell the story, you might be like, you know what? That was really shitty of me to say that, because like that was somebody's special moment. I'm just going to not talk about the chicken. I'm not going to talk about the heat, but I am going to say, oh my gosh, we were dancing our butts off and like sweating like you wouldn't believe. We had so much fun, right? Both can be true. You get to choose what part of the story you're going to bring into existence and keep reminding yourself of and other people about. So Ed is here. Hello, Ed. So Ed says, generally, you are better off with the antibiotics rather than a nasal steroid. Oh, okay. Well, that was wrong of me then. I should have asked you. Please feel free to explain more to me. The reason why I don't like doing antibiotics is because the antibiotics like really, really hurt your microbiome, right? So that's the reason why I try not to do antibiotics. But again, this is not a medical podcast. So there we go. There we have it. I just gave bad information about what I did. I mean, it worked for me, but thank you, Ed. Also, even though Ed is giving this advice, this is also not medical advice. Okay, that's it. All righty. So, okay. So the I am statements, is that where we were? Tell me if did I forget something? Maybe I had another conversation that I was starting with and I didn't continue. Just let me know. Anyway, about the I am statements that I have to do for my homework, which I'm really looking forward to, is I get to come up with all of the I am statements about who I am. Okay. So something that she brought up that I want to share with you guys, because it's just a truth about where I am right now. It's not where I want to be, but it's where I am right now. And the reason why we had our theme last month for worthiness is because I struggle with worthiness, that I don't feel like I'm worthy, which is weird because I love doing this podcast show and I love that you guys spend an hour or more with me every week. But there's also part of me that's like, I don't know if I'm worth the time. Like, are these people wasting their time being with me? And something that we discovered in the session today by talking about the I am statements is that one of the things that I do that is not serving me, it's not helpful, is that I really negate the good things that I do. I negate the good qualities that I have. So when I was telling her, she's like, you're a very kind person. She's like, and she was kind of just giving like some examples that she thought were just very like naturally who I was, right? Like, you're a very lovable person. You're a very relatable person. You're a very kind person. And when she said that, I was like, yeah, but I mean, who's not kind. Like, you're a kind person, so of course I'm going to be kind to you. And I mean, if you want to feel loved, you've got to show love. Like, that's just the way it is. And so I was like negating all of these things that I naturally am. And she made a really good point, is that that's probably part of why I don't feel worthy, because I negate all the goodness that I have, all of the skills that I've created, all of the talents that I have, all of the ways of being that people are attracted to. I'm like, well, who isn't? Who isn't nice? Like, we should all be kind, right? But that's one of the things that I'm naturally good at, is being kind, even to strangers. And she's like, you really need to take the small things. And also, she might not be, I think she does better with coaching, where she's not like, you should do this, but she gives advice on ways to think about things, and like that I should be looking at the good things that I do that I think are natural and make them a bigger deal. And then I will have more of like a list of why I'm worthy. And we've talked about this on the show, you guys, that you really don't have to do anything to be worth living on this earth. Like, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I haven't done this, this, and this, or I haven't, or I'm not a kind person, like I'm actually kind of mean, I'm kind of a jerk to people. Just us being alive, like just us being here, you listening to the show, like you are worth living. You are worth being here, and you have gifts that you need to be sharing with people. It is just fact. I personally, and I've met a lot of people, I have never met one person that I have not been able to learn something from. Not one. And so that's how I know for sure that it's not just you have gifts you need to share. No, they're like, every single person that I have met, I have gotten a gift from. I have gotten a lesson from. I have gotten something that I'm like, oh my gosh, I never thought about it that way. And so you have that too. And that's why I know that you deserve to be on this earth, and you're worthy regardless of the things that you have. However, it is nice to have a list that you can go back to and be like, yeah, you know what? These are some of the things that I give to people. And those are the stories that we create. And if we negate the goodness, then we're making it very difficult for us to see the full picture of who we are. So Sarah says, yes, you downplay your goodness and you shouldn't, because you're truly amazing. Woman, thank you so much. Okay, see? What I was going to go to is, okay, well, I wouldn't say truly amazing. Like, but you know what? Hot damn, yes, I am. And so are you. So thank you. Are you laughing? I am sure you're laughing. Okay, so yes, and that is something that I want to change. So like I said in the very beginning when I said that is something that I do now. Instead of saying I am that person, because when we say I am, we're speaking that into existence. We're saying that is an identity that I hold, that is who I am. And it's almost like you can't change it. And that all of your stories that you create are going to be created. So then they agree with that identity that you have. That's why it's super important for us to be curating the stories that we have, be curating the identity that we have. That's why the stories are super, super important. So, so if I say, you know, I am this type of a person, then it's going to be like, okay, now let me find other evidence that I'm this type of person. But if I say I've acted in this way, but I'm working on becoming this way, that's a lot more powerful, because you know that you're growing, you know that you're shifting. And so your body, your mind, your subconscious is going to look for ways of you improving and progressing and going to that next step. It's really fascinating. This is not woo-hooey, you guys. This is science about the way that your brain and your subconscious works. That's why it's super, super important for us to be really thinking about this. And that's why I want to be talking about the narratives, the stories, all of it, all month long. So, okay. So how do our stories change our health? right? Like you might be thinking, well, no, it doesn't have any effect on my health. Well, it does actually, because if you are, especially with your health, if you identify with something that is wrong with you, okay? So you have some sort of ailment, you have some sort of disability, you have some sort of sickness, you have some sort of whatever, fill in the blank, whatever it is, we all have something, right? If you say, I am whatever, and then you actually, a perfect example, and this is, I think I've shared this on the show before, but it's really sad. But it's just true. This is what happened. I went to a doctor's appointment with my uncle, and this was maybe 10 years ago. And he was having some issues, and he was like kind of becoming stiff, and he was falling, and like there were certain things that were truly happening, that it was his body that was failing him a little bit. And so he was going to the doctor to go and see what it was all about. He had to go to London, which is like 2 hours away from us. And so we're a very close family. So me, my mom, my other uncle, his twin brother, and my uncle that had these issues, we all went to the doctor's appointment. We all went in, and we all listened to the results that came back. And they said that he had the onset of, Mom, if you're listening to this, can you put it what it is? I think it was MS or MD, one of them, I think it was muscular dystrophy. Anyway, it was the beginning of it. And he was saying, so that is, why this is happening. And, so then he was like, well, what is going to happen to me? Like, what is my prognosis? What's going to happen? And he's like, well, you may end up da, 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 da. He heard the things that may happen in 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. And he took that in and said, I am a muscular dystrophy patient, and I will not be able to walk. I will not be able to do this. And when we went home, even though he could walk, even though he could go on stairs, even though he could do everything, he immediately put himself in a wheelchair. He didn't get a wheelchair right away. He got an office chair, like a wheelie one, inside of his house that he like just stopped walking, and he just started rolling around his house. And then he got an elevator, put in like a lift kind of thing on the outside, so he wouldn't use the stairs. And then he did all of these things, even though he wasn't at that stage yet, but he thought he was going to get to that stage. And so he, out of his stories, put himself into that. And so then everything progressed so much faster. So it was the stories that he was telling that got him to where he was. Would he eventually have needed a wheelchair? Maybe. Would he eventually have needed a lift? Maybe, but he didn't need it the next day after that doctor's appointment. Your body doesn't shift that much that quickly, but your mind can put you there. And so that's kind of an extreme version of what we do when we say, oh, I've got bad knees, I can't walk. No, you can, but you might just have to walk around the block first and then build up. I am whatever it is, fill in the blank. I am this, I can't do this. And then you pigeonhole yourself, and then you don't grow, and you don't do the things that you need to do. One of the things that I used to say is that I am a night owl. I am not a morning person. And so I was never waking up early, and I missed a good part of the day. And I was staying up late, which was killing my circadian rhythm, which ended up giving me all of these extra problems. But I was identified as a night owl. And as soon as I said, okay, wait, no, I'm going to change this. I like being up at night, but I'm also a morning person. And I remember telling myself, I'm a morning person. I'm a morning person. And it didn't feel right at the beginning, but I was like, I can become a morning person. And I did. And now it's like the best part of the day. Okay. So I'm sorry, Ed. I am totally la, la, la. Okay. So Ed says, critic needs to be constantly questioned. Critic. Okay. Sorry. Our internal critic should always be questioned. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So he says, I gave myself several reasons not to befriend colleagues at work. Then I questioned my reasons one day, since I can say I have a couple of good friends. Amen. What are the stories that we are telling ourselves that we're living into? What are the stories that we're telling ourselves about the society that we live in? What are the stories that we're telling ourselves about our own health, about the way that we show up, about the way that people think of us? What are these stories? And I think it's really, really important for us to be sharing those stories, being vulnerable and saying, yeah, here's one of my stories. I'm not smart enough. People don't want to be around me. I'm slow. I can't run. I have bad knees. Like whatever it is, what are your stories? And then do you want to live into those stories? And some of the stories might just be true. Like you might have diabetes. That's fine. So be careful. There's things that you have to do. But having diabetes doesn't mean that you can't live your life. You have certain things that you have to do, right? Like me, I have poor eyesight. That's the way that it is. I try not to say anything about it because I really want to, I try to do exercises and stuff to have better eyesight. But it's pretty poor. If I don't have glasses or contacts right next to me, I can't see. I can tell that there's a body in front of me, but I can't tell if your eyes are open or closed. I can't tell if you've got a knife coming at me. I can't tell anything. And so that is what it is. However, it just means that I pop contacts in as soon as I wake up, or I have my glasses. You have things that, yes, you have to do. Maybe your life is altered a little bit, but do you focus on it? A lot of people don't even know that I have bad eyes because I'm always wearing contacts, and it's not that I'm hiding it. It's just, I don't think about it, you know? Okay. So Jess is here. Hello. Hi. Jess says, why don't you wear glasses? Lots of reasons. So, do you want to know them all? So the main reasons are because I don't like when I sweat a lot, you can tell I'm going like this a lot right now because these lights are really making me hot. So I instantly sweat. And so what happens is I get that foggy condensation on my eyes. I don't like doing that. I don't like fixing that all the time. I don't like constantly cleaning my glasses. If you guys saw my phone is always I've got to go and clean the camera if I'm going to take a picture because I'm just I don't like always having to clean it. I don't like the feeling of glasses on me when I'm in the cold weather. So when I'm walking and it's cold outside, I don't like that cold feeling on my eyes. I don't like the way my eyes look in glasses. I think my eyes look much smaller in glasses because they're bottle cap glasses. They're super, even though you can get thinner ones, even the thinnest ones are still pretty thick. So those are all the reasons why I don't do it. I wish that I could, well, I shouldn't say that. I could wear glasses. I think they're really cute on other people. And I actually have some fake glasses that don't have a prescription in them, just because I like the look of them. But those ones I can take off, right, and still see. But I can't take them off if they're actual prescription. So that's why. Mostly vain. That's the reason. But I actually really love when I've got girlfriends that wear glasses and I'm just like, oh my gosh, those are so awesome. But again, I don't like the maintenance of it. So that's it. Okay. Total aside, welcome to the living room or to our cafe. Okay. So let us maybe go into some questions. We'll do that where we'll do our lightning round of questions, unless there was something that I was talking about that I didn't finish that you guys still want me to talk about. Actually, let me back up just for a quick second. So this is the reason why our stories that we're telling ourselves really affect our health. So it is because we won't be able to do, we won't be able to do or hit any kind of health goals or do the things that we want to do if we don't believe we can do them. Okay. That's just the way it is. Like, you can't fight yourself on that. If you don't think that you can finish a marathon, you're not going to finish a marathon. If you don't think that you can swim, you're not going to learn how to swim. So you have to believe that whatever you want, you can create, that you can do, that you can get better. If you don't believe you can get better, nothing will work for you. If you don't believe that your food will affect your health, then your food will not affect your health, because you won't make those healthy choices. You know what I'm saying? So that's why our narrative and our stories really, really affect our health. A good example is when I was training for a marathon, and I'm debating the marathon. I'm either going to defer to 2025. It's in October. I have not started training for it. I'm debating if I want to do the full marathon. So I may start training for that. But when I trained for my marathon that I did probably like 5 years ago, I'd say, I think I did it the first one before, maybe it was actually in 2020 that I did it. And I kind of just told myself, even though I wasn't a runner, I was going to walk the whole thing. I told myself, I'm going to finish this marathon. And it was like actually finished the day that I decided to start training. And it was just a matter of going through the motions. And so I was able to do a lot more. And they say, a lot of it is mental. The training for marathons, the majority of it is like 90% mental. You do have to be careful, all those good things. But a lot of it is mental, and it's, can you make it to the next step? Can you do that long run? If you don't believe you can, you won't. If you believe that you can, you will, no matter what. Right? So that's why it's really, really important. Okay. So Ed says, with me, my inner critic needs updating. When I was young, I thought I was stupid, so I didn't try. Bingo, right there. That critic stayed with me for a long time, even after I graduated second out of 300 in pharmacy school. Is that fascinating, Ed? Like, that is what just blows my mind. Even though there's evidence that we're lying to ourselves, because we have that narrative, because we have that story, we are going to believe it, even if the world around us, all of the evidence around us points in a different direction. We're going to find evidence to prove that we were right. So Sarah says, I know someone who beat cancer, and I swear it was her mindset. She would constantly say, cancer won't defeat me. Boom. Sarah, that is, so both of those, like both ends of that is absolutely true. There are so many, if you guys want like to go on and you want to go into like a rabbit hole on the internet, go and search for stories just like this about people that have conquered major health ailments, major like death sentences by their mindset. And then also people on the other end, unfortunately, like my uncle, that hears something and then they put themselves in the grave way earlier because they're like, well, this is it. It's done, So both of them can happen. I can't remember what they call it exactly, but it's something like mental suicide, where a lot of people, I don't know what the percentage is, but during the Depression, a lot of people died a mental suicide. They didn't even like attempt suicide. Like they didn't jump. There were a lot of people, unfortunately, that jumped buildings and did all that kind of stuff. But there were some people that were like, oh my God, this is going to kill me. This is going to kill me. This is going to kill me. And it killed them. Like what we tell ourselves, we're always looking for evidence, and our body will try to make that happen. Fascinating. So Ed says, I'm not smart, but I am not stupid either. I just do my best instead of listening to my inner critic. Boom. And you are smart, dude. Because what is smart? Like, that's the other thing. What are these characteristics that we're talking about? Like, so who can say that they're smart? Just the smartest person in the entire world? And who is that? Because there is nobody in this world that is super smart or knows everything about everything. I was listening to, who was I listening to? One of the Stoic guys, I can't remember which one, but anyway, they were talking about how they live a life where they make sure that it doesn't matter if they are like 99% smarter in like 99% of the ways. every person that they meet, they want to learn something from. Every single person. And it's possible. I said that at the beginning of the show. Like, everybody has worth because I have always learned something from every single person that I've met. And it's a really fascinating way to go through life, is to look for something that you can learn from every person, and look for something that you can learn from every event, everything that happens to you. So anyway, so that's just to say, like, if we say we are not smart or we are smart, like, in what field, in what thing that we're talking about, you know? Okay, wait, Sarah, I'm going to go back to you in a minute, but Ed says there is evidence for what Sarah mentioned, several small trial showing the healing power of the mind. Amen. Amen. This is so awesome. Sarah says, yes, love that. What is smart? There's always something new to learn. Yes. Oh my gosh, this is so awesome. I love this podcast. Jess says, are you not podcasting these few weeks, or I missed any of your podcasts? Yeah, I've been doing it every single week. So I don't know. And I don't know how Twitch works, if you can go back, or is it just streaming on Twitch? But if you go to YouTube, go to the Friend Leigh Show on YouTube, and you go into live where the streams are, you can go back and see the other ones that we've done it. We've done it every week. I don't think I've missed a week. So welcome back. I'm glad you're here. Cause yeah, I think it's been almost a month actually since you've been here. So welcome back. Yeah. So every Wednesday, you guys, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I think 1 week actually, Jess, I think 1 week I did it on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday. So that might have thrown you off. But it was just 1 week because I had like an event that I wanted to go support my friend at. So I had to do that. Well, I didn't have to. I chose to do that. So, okay. So you guys, I had all those questions that I had ChatGPT come up with for last week. And what I did this week is I came up with new questions, and I thought that we would keep it for the topic that we're doing. So instead of just like random, I would keep them in line with what we're doing here. So let's see here. Jess says, have you set your schedule on Twitch? Can you please email me and tell me what that means? It's funny that you say that. Actually, maybe I have. So today, normally what I do is I do up the stream the day that I'm doing it. And what I did today is I set up the stream for every week in August. So all of August is set up. So I've done it through StreamYard. I don't know if it's on Twitch. So if you want, go check it out. And then, and if it's not there, then I can look into it and see how to do that. But it's every week on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Where are you at? Okay. So let's go through the questions. We've got, usually we do about 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes we go over the hour. So let's go with the questions now. Let me open this up and I'll tell you how I prompted ChatGPT to do this. So first, what I said is can you please give me, and yes, I'm polite. Can you please give me 20 fun questions to get to know friends that are centered around the stories they tell themselves about their health and how they show themselves they love themselves? Okay. So then some of the questions came up was like, what's a positive health habit you've adopted that you're proud of? So that's a good one. If you guys want to answer that, please feel free to answer that one. But then I was like, I don't know. Let's see if there's something more fun that we can do. So then I said, can you also incorporate some have you ever questions about self-love? So I'm going to ask those as a kind of lightning round and you guys can answer those. Okay. And what I'm going to do is the same thing as, hi, Mike's here. Hi. Okay. So what I'm going to do, are you going to come in? Look. Hey, everybody on First Day Pod. Look who it is.
Are we at Applebee's?
No, we're not at Applebee's. Somebody please tell him where we are.
How did we get to Applebee's?
We're not at Applebee's.
This is awesome. I love Applebee's.
But this isn't Applebee's.
It's Central Perk. I know what it is.
Yes. Okay. I love you. I love you. Okay. So bye. Okay. All right, let's see. Jess says you can set your weekly schedule on Twitch, but if you only stream on Wednesdays, then you can add it in your bio. I'll try to figure out how to do a bio on there. Okay, thanks, Jess. I will work on that. And Ed, Mike, Ed says hi. Hi, Ed. I don't know if you can hear that, but okay, so let's do these questions, you guys. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this is what we did last week and it worked out kind of well. I'm going to read like 3 questions. That way you can start writing them, as you're going instead of like waiting for you to type them out. Cause I know sometimes that takes a little while. So here are the first 3 questions and I'm just going to read them, as they come up here. Have you ever taken a solo trip to focus on yourself? Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. And I'm going to put the disclaimer there that it doesn't have to be some kind of elaborate trip. Have you even just gone like to a restaurant or have you gone to a movie by yourself? I'm really curious about that. And then the next question, have you ever tried meditation or mindfulness exercises? Okay. I do want to know about that too, because you guys know my relationship with mindfulness and meditation. I really want to do more of it. I don't give myself the time to do it, but I do want to get back into that. And then have you ever written a love letter to yourself? Oh, that's so cute. All right, you guys. So I want to hear your answers to some or all of these questions. I will answer first while you're typing because it's obviously easier for me to voice them than to type them. So you guys continue on and then I'll bring you up on the show. So have you ever taken a solo trip to focus on yourself? No, I have not taken have I taken a solo trip? No, I have not taken a solo trip to focus on myself. And the way that I define a trip is overnight. So I have not done that. But I have kind of spent the day by myself. Actually, one of the trips that I did that was like super fun is I wanted to go like, the mitten for Michigan. And I think it's the thumb. I went all around the thumb. One day I just kind of drove and I went to like every beach along the thumb. And I did that all in a day. I think I was driving and, stopping and going. I think it took me like 17 hours or something like that. And that was just for me to spend time with myself. So that was really nice. I also have done like dinners and movies by myself. And just fun fact, in Japan, if you go to a restaurant by yourself, it is not approved. And so at least the restaurant that I went to, and they put me in the back behind a curtain because they didn't want me to be by myself in their restaurant. So I thought that was pretty funny. Okay, Ed says, I have gone to a movie and dinner by myself a few times. And how was it? Did you enjoy it? Like, and why did you do it? Was it because you wanted to go and see a movie and nobody else would see it with you? Or were you like, intentionally, I'm going to go and just have a date with myself? And Sarah says, yes, I went to Niagara and attended a last minute acoustic concert. It was one of my best trips. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. That is really cool, Sarah. This is actually making me want to go on a little trip on my own this summer. But actually, no, I want to spend more time with Mike. We are finally together. So any trip that I go on, it will be with him. But maybe next year I'll do a solo trip. Okay, so that was a solo trip. Meditation I want you guys to tell me about. And then have you ever written a love letter to yourself? I feel like I might have when I was in my 20s. I feel like I did do that. But I also feel like my journaling is kind of a love letter to myself. I actually sign the majority of my journal entries, love Leigh, or make it a happy and healthy day. Love you, Leigh. So I feel like I kind of do that, but I like the idea of actually writing a letter to myself. You know what would also be fun is to mail it to yourself, because with my ADHD, I would just forget that I did it. And when it comes to the mail, it would be like, oh my gosh, look at that. Okay. So Sarah said, I go to the movies alone a lot. That's awesome. And I want to know, like, why do you do that? Is it like intentionally because you want to just spend the time by yourself? Or is it that you like Just tell me about it. Anyway, let's see what else is happening here. Ed says, I meditate several times a day. My first cup of coffee in the morning is part of my meditation. Oh, very nice. Actually, now that you're saying that, I probably do meditate more than I think I do, because what I've started doing is when I used to go on walks by myself, I used to always listen to a podcast. Sarah says, love that, Ed. And Sarah also said in response to that, she says, yes, I love my alone time. Yes. So she has 82 children. So what was that? So the meditation, when I used to go for walks by myself, I would actually I'd use that time to do voice messages to people, either in my Color Street business or friends that I wanted to connect with, or I would listen to podcasts or listen to audiobooks. And recently, the last couple months, I actually don't listen to anything. I just listen to the ambient noise around me, like the nature, the birds, my breathing. So I guess that is kind of like a walking meditation. Ed says, yes, it was intended as a date to become comfortable being alone and not lonely. However, each time I met someone when I went to a restaurant, isn't that awesome? That is so cool. I absolutely love being alone and then meeting people just randomly. And you know what's funny is that because people are so uncomfortable being alone, I find that for me anyway, when I'm alone, people tend to open up more and want to befriend you more, because they're oh man, she's by herself. That's so sad. And it's not sad. It's I like to be by myself. Thank you. Okay. So Ed says, this podcast is part of my alone time, but not really. Okay. I like that. Although you're in my living room right now in the Central Perk with all your friends. So it's not really alone, but I get it. I like that. Okay, so let us do some more questions. We'll do 3 more, okay? So the 3 more are, have you ever treated yourself to a spa day or a massage? I'm going to ignore that one. Okay, unless you want to answer it, go ahead. Have you ever set aside a day just for self-care activities? Okay, I like that question. I want to know, have you and set aside an entire day? Because when I read that, then I'm oh yeah, I've done that. But it really was only an hour or 2. Have you set aside an entire day just for self-care activities? The next question, have you ever kept a gratitude journal? So a journal just for gratitude. And then have you ever tried yoga or another form of gentle exercise to relax? Okay, and then I'm going to do this last one too. Have you ever made a vision board to inspire your self-love journey? Ooh, I like that. Okay, so any one of those questions or all those questions that you want to answer, please go ahead. I will answer them for myself. I have never set aside an entire day for self-care activities. Even if I have intended that okay, this Sunday is going to be all about me, I have a very difficult time just doing self-care activities. Even while I was sick this weekend, I was kind of comatose, but even when I would wake up, I was I should be doing something. So that's something I have to work on, that I've never done that. That would be a really cool activity actually for me to try to do for myself. Have you ever kept a gratitude journal? In fact, I have, and I really, really like it. I had one where every day I would write 3 things that I was grateful for. And one of the challenges was not to repeat something, which is actually more difficult than it sounds. Have you ever tried yoga or another form of gentle exercise to relax? It's funny. When I read it first, I was have you ever tried yoga or another form of gentle exercise? I was yeah, but not to relax actually. So I'm seeing a theme here that I need to slow down a little bit, or I want to slow down a little bit. And then the next one is, have you ever made a vision board to inspire your self-love journey? And yes, I have. So it's funny, whenever I do vision boards, which I love, whenever I do vision boards, half of it is usually goal oriented about business or money or that kind of thing. But the other half or more of it is usually about how I'm going to take care of myself, how I'm going to show up for myself. And because I kind of need that reminder a lot more than I like to admit. So that's really helpful. So I'd like to know where you guys are at with that. So here we go. Ed says, this is my favorite. I love it. You guys, this is so fun. Ed says, self-care, yes. Massage, spa, walk, and spent several hours sitting by a harbor. Woo! I love it. That's awesome. Awesome. Okay. Sarah says, that's a great idea. Even 30 minutes of just for me time might be a dream in my life, but I'll try. Yeah, 30 minutes. You guys, I don't know if you guys saw my post yesterday, but Mike and I were driving home together, and the sunset was like, it was beautiful. And so we get to our place, and we live in a condo. And so we were going in, and he would normally have to like kind of turn right to go down into the underground parking. And he went left, which meant that he was going to go into the parking lot. And I was like, what are you doing? And then he turned left again, and then he turned left again, and he went back out on the street. And I was like, where are you going? And he would not answer me. And so he backtracked almost like another 5 minutes, because he was trying to find somewhere that we could go and watch that sunset. We weren't in a place to be able to actually watch the sunset, but he wanted to see like the sun, like the sky that I was just talking about. And so we parked the car, and we went over there, and we went by the water, and it was beautiful. And the whole experience was maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10, I don't know, but I feel like maybe closer to 5 minutes. It was not a long time, but it was so magical because we just were there. We just took the time just to look at the sky, just to be in each other's presence, to be watching the water. Like, it was just 5 minutes. So Sarah, when you say like even just 30 minutes can feel like an eternity if you really go inward and you spend that time for yourself. And even trips. I've done trips that like were really only 24 hours, but because I was so invested in that trip that immediately I was like, I'm on vacation mode. The moment I got into the car, it changed everything. And that 24 hours felt like an entire week of being away. So 30 minutes, woman, it could really change a lot. Ed says, I gratitude journal regularly. That's awesome. That is very good. Ed says, I have got back to writing my book. Oh, what? He says, gratitude and active self-love all in one. Oh, that is so exciting, Ed. I am so excited for that. Okay. That is amazing. All right, you guys. As always, I'm gonna start ending the show, but then if any other comments come up, we'll go right back into them. But it's been about an hour, so I'm gonna start wrapping up for the night. I am gonna look into that Twitch. So Jess, I will try to figure that out. But can you just put it in your calendar to be here on Wednesday at 8? Next week, we're gonna be talking about our stories and how those relate to our purpose. And I think that's going to be a really good conversation. If you think of anybody in your life that, you want to share this experience with, please have them come on and watch live. So it's really, really easy, you guys. You're in the comments. You can be in your pajamas. It doesn't matter, but you're a part of the show, even just in this conversation. So I would love it if you could be there. We're going to do this question and answer at the end of every show because it is a lot of fun. I get to know you guys on a different level. So Jess, Sarah, Ed, thank you so much for being here. If you guys are watching or listening in the podcast version, please come on over to YouTube or Twitch on the next Wednesday that you hear this and join us live. I love you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Big hugs. And I will see you in our Facebook group. Make sure you come on over to our Facebook group too, you guys. It's the Friend Leigh Show. It is private. So you do have to answer a couple questions just because I don't want bots in there. I'm doing a pretty good job of keeping them out. But I let anybody that looks like a real person in. So I hope to see you there during the week. We do probably like 4 or 5 lives during the week and just continue the conversation over there. So I love you guys. See you next week. Bye.